George, can you call the meeting to order?
The date is August 17th, 2017. The time is 6:35 p.m. David Champy II,
Present.
Rob Collins,
Here.
Geary Ciccarone, Ed Comeau,
Here.
Stephen Bailey,
Keep going.
Bill Zadie,
Here.
Rick Charette,
Present.
Dianne Smith,
Excuse you, call it.
Tim Straz.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have two regular members that are absent.
Bill is on the board. And you are on the board.
Yes.
So we don't have any alternates.
We have 10.
So you're the alternate.
And then
Get it straight now.
because I sit up here, it confuses you.
I know, you guys can be on.
Thanks, man.
Tim, can you sit on the board tonight?
Yes.
Thank you. Any public comments?
I'd like a question.
Announcements and corresponding mail. We have Seacoast Media Group. This is a bill.
Who's that from?
Seacoast Media Group. This is for, let's see, the postings in the Foster's Daily Democrat for like subdivision in the amount of $78.38. Anyone see it? Do we have a plan for that, George?
Yeah, I'll submit this to the treasurer for the town.
Thank you. So we have a letter from the Department of Environmental Services regarding an invitation to the annual Drinking Water Source Protection Conference. And unless we can time travel, it's dated for May 18, 2017. So unfortunately, we will not be attending that.
You got me a drinking.
Pardon?
You got me a drinking.
Yeah, I perked up too.
Right.
When was it sent out? On the envelope? On the postmark, yeah. Just curious.
Postmark April 10th, but it looks like it's been through,
And it fell behind the desk.
it looks like it's missing somewhere for some time. We also have a letter, New England WCS main office, so it's the USGS. Looks like they provided, or they have completed a geological survey regarding the Winnipesaukee watershed for flood zones. And it looks like they have updated some of their maps. And if anybody would like to see some of the FEMA maps, they can go to the website https New England NEWEngland.water.usgs.gov/FEMA_Winnipesaukee/.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
is that asking us to do anything, or is that just an announcement?
it's an announcement, just letting us know that they have done that. Do you want to look at this? Rob? Thanks. And we have a thank you from Mary McKillop for subdivision. She ended up coming here to get the registry, or to get the plat to bring to the registry of deed herself, so she hand delivered that to the registry. So she dropped this off in the meantime.
go on, when you open the meeting to public comment, I couldn't quite hear the comment. Did you say you had a question? I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
There's also a new edition of Convene, which will also be in the common area. Next on the agenda is to review and possibly approve the minutes for July 20th, 2017. As you see, we do not have minutes out here to review. There were some personal obligations that George had, and he was unable to complete the minutes. So what we will do is we'll postpone that for the next meeting, which will be in September. So we'll review the July 20th and today's minutes in September. So that being said, George has also put together a letter of resignation. He has recognized the fact that he's been pulled in many directions over the last couple of years, and he and I have had some discussion relating to how he's feeling like he's being pulled in different directions. It's been really hard for him to put in the dedication that he needs for the planning board. So he's provided a letter of resignation addressed to Chairman David Champy II, Brookfield Planning Board. Dear Chairman David Champy II, for the last 9+ years, I've had the privilege of serving the planning board as the administrative assistant. During that time, I've been treated with the respect and dignity far surpassing any position I've held in the past careers. Throughout my service, not a week has gone by without challenges and opportunities to broaden my personal talent pool. Yet, with great disquiet and after much consideration, I feel the time is right to tender my resignation. Though the last few years have brought some unnecessary burdens to my employment, my decision to leave is not a reflection of past or present planning board, but rather from outside influences that have compromised my capacity to achieve. Nonetheless, I am thankful even to those who have sought to discomfort me. Because of their efforts, I was compelled to walk an independent avenue that I would not consider without them. My deepest regret is that I will be unable to learn from the board's insight, encountering the great challenges of our national identity as it pertains to the zoning and planning. Planning boards everywhere are being tested by those who wish to usurp the will of the people, and I commend every member of the Brookfield Planning Board. Your dedication sustains the right of every person, even at the expense of your privacy and all that you treasure. Sincerely, George and Nick. So our rules of procedure, I believe, letter of reservation into,
There's not a member,
okay.
so we may not have to do anything, but.
Do we have to accept via motion?
That's usually the protocol that's taken.
I don't see anything really.
I mean, it's a couple pages, I didn't read every word of it, but I don't see anything obvious.
There's no harm accepting a motion, so could I have a motion?
I'd make a motion to regretfully accept the resignation of our recording secretary and administrative assistant, George.
Second.
All in favor?
Discussion.
Discussion?
Is, question or is George an employee of the town, or does this get accepted at the point? Okay. Question answered.
Wait, I'm sorry, what was the question, what was the answer?
Is George an employee of the town, and is this acceptable to deal with the resignation at the planning board level? because he's not a member. The answer was the planning board can accept.
But he is an employee of the town.
We pay him, but he's managed by the planning board.
Thank you for the clarification.
So I have a motion, I have a second discussion. Bob?
I didn't hear about this ahead of time, so, my first reaction is I'm really sad to hear this. I think, George, you've been a really good asset for us.
Thank you.
We're gonna miss you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I agree. Rick?
It's the first I heard of it too. And I'm sorry the judge decided to leave. I hope it's a decision that would benefit Judge.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, such a blessing. I appreciate it.
I don't believe you took the vote. We went into discussion, we didn't take a roll vote.
Correct. So, overall vote, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, my question is, if George has tendered his resignation, does he just continue through this one meeting and then that's it? Or like, where does his responsibility to us end? Does that have to be made into a definitive date, or is it
So-
immediately? I don't know.
So George has offered to stay on board to help with the transition. So he's willing to be able to go through the training when we get someone in. He's willing to work with them, show them what he is doing for the minutes, how to upload all the minutes. And I think that speaks greatly for his character. So even though he has a resignation, we don't have a date as to when that will be completely finalized. If you guys are okay with that, if not, then, please speak out. Rob?
I think it does speak to George's character. I really appreciate it. Just want to be real clear that we are paying him for the hours that he's helping ramp somebody else up.
Absolutely.
It's not him. Just want to be super clear that,
Yeah.
I'm fine with it as long as he's continuing to be an employee during those hours and he's getting paid and everything. So.
Yep. Absolutely. Rick?
So should the resignation be accepted pending a later date?
Should we do another motion pending a later date? The resignation's there.
I think so, because a resignation to me is fun. And Judge is willing to stay and helps bring someone up on board and everything, so I accept it as a resignation on notice, pending an agreed upon date.
So just a point of order, I don't think that we are not allowed to vote on the same issue. Like, we already had a motion on this issue. We're not allowed to have another motion unless we rescind the prior decision. And to rescind the prior decision, somebody who voted yes has to make the motion. So I move that we rescind the decision to accept George's resignation due to the lack of clarity on the resignation date.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
You're back in, Judge.
You back in.
Whether you want it or not.
So, we will have another motion based upon what I have just explained. George and I have talked about this, and he said that he is willing to do what needs to be done to be able to do the transfer and make it as painless as possible during the transition time. So the resignation will be pending a finalized date when we have someone that can fill the seat.
George, you want to put a drop dead date on that?
How about a date just determined by the chairman? He's working closest with George.
I would be fine with that. I think it's a good idea.
Sounds acceptable.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we with regret, accept George's resignation with the date to be determined by the chairman.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Right?
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. George, again, thank you very much for your willingness to help with the transition. So, new business. I don't currently have anything for new business up in front of us. Well,
How are we going to fill the position of administrative assistant?
that would be new business. So, there are a couple people that are in mind, I think, that we could post for it, to state that we have a seat available for the assistant. We can work with George and write something up and put something out on our town page. Maybe even do a newspaper posting for it. We need to define what the roles are, what the hours are, that kind of thing as well.
Yeah, the duties are spelled out in a couple pages in the rules of procedure, so we've got at least a start for a job description. Or if somebody wants to know exactly what it entails, that's, laid out there. I think it's important from, and even if, like I said, I just found out about this, I don't know if, I'm sure you're thinking about somebody. I think it's important from an optics perspective that we make sure that everyone has a chance to apply for the job that would want it.
Absolutely.
And that it's not just somebody who has an in with the town or whatever that, is the only one who has a shot at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Preferably someone that understands some RSAs as well would be definitely helpful. So George may have someone in mind as well. It would be worth also talking with maybe some of the surrounding towns, if somebody that would be doing that position part-time might want to pick up some additional hours part-time. That would benefit us as well as them at the same time.
Right.
So. Rick?
Would the chairman interview for the position? Conduct an interview for the position? On the board?
I think the board should. If anybody else is interested in sitting in to ask the right questions, I'd feel comfortable having more than just myself in on that.
Any way you want, just let us know what's happening.
Would it can be unwieldy to have the whole board do something. I would throw out the idea of having like a committee of maybe 3 members at most. Do at least some, if not all, of the hiring process. That way, not trying to keep out of public eye, but it would be non-public anyway. But if it's 3 people, then it's not a quorum. Then when they meet, that doesn't have to be noticed. Doesn't require minutes. Doesn't require. I'm not trying to, not that I'm trying to hide anything. If you disagree, I'd like to hear. But I think that in terms of at least screening candidates, I think it's something we can consider. I'm not wedded to the idea, but I think that it's hard to work as a board and do and make any sort of decision quickly.
Agreed. Ed, you got something?
Well, the issue with that is if you create a separate committee, that committee has a quorum, so you're going to have to take minutes, and it is going to be done in non-public, so it's not something that, I would prefer the whole board doing it, and doing it in non-public rather than a separate committee, that's all.
Rick?
I would recommend the chairman and the vice chairman handle this whole thing. The management team, the grunt side of this.
We'll take into consideration.
But it still has to be done in non-public.
Am I the vice chairman?
Yep.
I don't like that.
Come to think of it, I don't like it either.
So if anybody here has any,
Chairman and one designated member. Just to keep it streamlined.
so if anybody has any ideas or suggestions of anybody that might be looking for some additional work on the side, George and I are also going to talk about some other people that you might have in mind too, so. And we'll post it, so it should go on the website. I think it would be worthwhile posting what the duties are on the website with something that says there's availability for that position. Let's get people interested. That would be the first step. And probably an ad in the paper as well, in Foster's. Ed?
Does the planning board or the selectmen have a town-wide employee hiring policy?
We have two selectmen right there, we could ask them. I don't know of one.
No, I don't have one either. The administrative assistant works for the planning board, period. So what's your policy?
That's why I brought it up.
Other people have been hired by department heads. Josh, question. Do you recall how you were hired?
Yes, according to the RSA, I'm directly responsible to the chairman of the planning board specifically. And that's how it was done, especially for me, so,
So you were hired by the chairman?
yes.
Okay. Just some background.
Right. George, if you can put something together and then send it for review before we post it, that would be appreciated. If you can send it to the members as well.
All right.
Can I suggest that we think about setting it as part of the posting? Any postings we do, we have a deadline for submission of resumes.
It's a good suggestion.
Because at some point you have to like say, okay, well, we're gonna look at the resumes and we're gonna make a decision. And, you know, it's nice when you know, we may not find the right person, but the first time, but just a thought. I don't think it's strictly required, but it might be helpful for motivate people to actually.
So we have 4 more meetings by the end of the year this year. We could always have a separate meeting to review a resume. We don't have to go public for that. We're just sitting down reviewing resumes for position.
Well, it'd still be a noticed meeting, and we would just go into non-public, come out of non-public, and then end the meeting, right?
Do you have a suggestion that you feel would be enough time? I don't know if anyone's going to be beating down the door, but you never know.
People who want work, right? So-
Rick?
Is it acceptable to hold off on a newspaper ad until you check locally for someone qualified?
Yeah.
And if there is no one qualified, then that'll be the second step. So it's, other than posting on the website, that's that just could bring a load of work into you.
Right. Good suggestion. So George, hold off on the paper. We'll do the website, and then also word of mouth. We have some other people that we're thinking of, so. And then anybody else on the board, if you have people you're thinking of or might be interested or looking for something part-time, just mention it to them. Any more discussion?
I feel like we don't have a plan.
We just don't have a date of when we're gonna stop receiving resumes, right? So we've got to establish that.
I mean, do we want to wait until next month's meeting before we start looking at resumes? I'm just sitting here wondering whether that's fair to George, because he's been kind enough to offer to ease the transition.
Correct.
And if we do that, then we're assuming that we're gonna, I assume that we're gonna be then asking George to continue on for at least another month. Or we have to find, you know, somebody to do it temporarily, which might be, that might be easy, to get somebody to take minutes, right?
Right.
So, I mean, or do we wanna, like, plan on posting something within a week? Well, maybe next meeting it ends up being that anyway, so we post something within a week, give 2 weeks to respond, and the next week we're having our meeting anyway. The other alternative would be to try to shorten that and have a meeting in the middle to try to, narrow the field based on looking at resumes and schedule interviews for the next meeting.
So I guess my only concern is, do we feel we'll have enough resumes by the time the next meeting comes around? We don't know, right? Rick?
I would suggest to move ahead, you judge, people have mentioned there were some potential names out there, collect those right away. And if you find someone suitable there as the chairman, just move forward. This doesn't need to turn into a giant collection of resumes and sorting in and out. It's a lot of work, especially if there is someone locally that is qualified to do the job. Look for that first and try to, someone that you as the chairman can live with, and take it from there. If you get a short list right away of good candidates, you email out, call a quick meeting to the plan board to go over, just announce who they are. And as the chairman, just take it from there and do it. Work with Josh, get someone in, straighten out and trained, and you may be able to have someone here by the next meeting. Just go for it.
Okay.
I never saw newspaper ads and resumes and interviews for other jobs that have been filled around here, and we've been getting along okay.
So I've heard from some people in town that they're not very happy when they see when there was a job that they feel like they might have wanted to try for, and they found out after the fact that there was an opening here in town, and it was somebody who knew somebody that got the job. Right? Nobody's like protesting out, marching or whatever about it, but people aren't very happy with that. It feels like, the people who know somebody get the jobs and stuff, right? Anyway, that's the downside of doing that. What you're saying is be expedient, get it done, right? But the flip side is that the government is taxpayer money, and people expect a certain level of fairness.
But if it's on the website, that gives them a chance as well, if they're involved in the town, which I would hope someone in this position would be involved in the town and not have any idea what's going on with the town.
I would agree that if you put it out on the website and a few days later you took whatever, the people that, whoever you heard from, and made a decision, I think that would be much better than if you just ran into somebody tonight or tomorrow before anyone else knew that this was even open and said, oh, yeah, we're gonna hire you.
Right.
So, That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it has to be a long, I'm not saying it has to be a long drawn out process, but I think that it has to at least have been publicly announced and give people a reasonable chance to express interest. That's my thought, at least.
Rich?
I understand the urgency. I think George has the capability to get it posted quickly.
Right.
If he takes 2 weeks after he posts it and uses that as the date, you could be well along in the process within the next 2 weeks, or 10 days, whatever you want to set as a interval, but I don't think you have to wait a week to get it posted.
Right. Right, I would say we can post it immediately. Yeah, absolutely.
If George has time to post it. I don't want to presume his time, right? So,
By posting, are we saying by the newspaper or posting it on the website?
Just on the website. Just on the website is fine. We'll hold off on the newspaper. Website should be sufficient.
I'll send, do you want me to send you a copy of the proposed posting before it gets posted?
Please. Shall we have some direction? So we'll at least put it on the website, we'll get some resumes in, review the resumes, and if we have a valid candidate, then we'll review it.
and in fact, I'm okay with the idea of you hiring the person as chairman. I'm okay, I mean, I'm not sure if everyone else is, but, you know, I'm okay with that if that's the way we're going to go. I think we should be clear on, if we want this to happen quickly, it should be one person making the decision. A committee takes forever to make decisions. So that's my thought. So I'm okay with that, if that's the direction we want to go.
I vote you and I do it.
I'm just gonna make a motion.
That's what I'm saying.
Can I suggest, you and Ed do it? I'm just really slammed in the next few weeks.
Okay. Ed, are you open to that?
I am. Should this require a motion that we're authorizing ourselves to do this? And if we're doing it, or we're gonna have to do the non-public issue, we're gonna have to meet. So, because all you have to do is just make sure it's posted, that's all I'm saying. I mean, the review should be non-public, it should be accounted for.
Right.
In case there's any questions in the future about, well, how did you hire that person? Show me how that happened. So we have to make sure that's transparent, that's all I'm saying. So when you're ready, we just post the meeting, we meet, go from public into non-public, discuss all the resumes, come out of non-public, seal the minutes, and go on. It shouldn't be any extra work. So yes, I'm
Okay.
going to do it.
Okay, good. Great.
Does George have the access to the website to put a post up right away?
Yes.
Post saying, position planning board assistant available. Contact,
Put me as a contact over.
Champy, contact information.
Okay, so on that posting again, we're making it very plain that the position is open. We're not putting in description, job description, or anything like that, is it? At this point.
I think that's fair, yeah.
Can we make sure that, I'm not sure exactly what the mechanism is, but sometimes stuff gets posted and I get an email and sometimes I don't from the website. Can I suggest that we do whatever is required such that an email blast goes out to whoever's signed up for that? Does that make, what I'm asking, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you want an email copy of the posting?
No,
So
so
they're on the website.
some things that get posted to the website, they just appear, and I've noticed them a couple months later that they happen to be there. Sometimes I'll get an email telling me that something got posted, something's happening, right? The little one-line blurb, right? So I think that if we want people to know about it, we should try to make a real effort to make sure that people know about it, not just, bury it on the planning board page or something.
Is there an email list with a lot of emails on
There are people that sign up for email notifications of things that are posted on the
it?
page,
Yeah, okay.
so, yeah, can make that happen.
Am I the only one on that list?
No.
I was wondering why you get some stuff, you don't get some stuff.
Yes,
Wow.
it's been quiet lately. Yeah.
I have no problem with the chairman taking care of this thing solo. If you're tied up in the interest of time.
I'm never tired. They try, but they have To maintain optics and transparency, I would propose that all applicants must go through that posting. So if anybody does find somebody that would be interested, they need to be told to go through the posting, not just handing it to you separately.
Well, should we contact David Champy?
Well, I think the posting is just gonna be text that says, here's David Champion, here's his phone number.
Yep.
And not like you can submit a form online. I don't think there's gonna be any sort of online submission or anything like that.
So the posting is just gonna say, send the email to the chair.
Yeah.
Correct?
That was my understanding.
Resumes go to the chair.
So that would be through, that's through the website, that's all I'm saying. Is there should be a paper trail that this was received on such a date, and these are the candidates that showed up in your email.
So do you have a town email?
I do.
Okay.
And make sure the town email is used, that's what I'm saying. Just for future.
That's what you're saying, is the town email should be used.
Correct.
So that if somebody wanted to do a 91A request,
Exactly.
they could. And at least.
Without going into his personal email.
Right.
pbchair@brookfieldnh.org, right?
Yes, I have.
Good. Just double checking in my head, so.
That's a good point. We just wanna,
And you'll put that as a contact on there for resumes. And then that will be the paper trail.
so if somebody tries to contact you directly, ask them to send a copy of their resume through,
Correct.
or at least an email through that email as well.
Do you want to put a send by date? You want to go fast?
Yeah,
You mean must be received by?
yeah.
Yeah, it's just an email, so.
I guess it would come down to when George gets it posted. I think we should give it 2 weeks from the time he posts it, from the date that he puts it on the website, that we should have resumes within 2 weeks.
Does that work within George's time?
I'll make it work. Thank you.
Ed?
The town also has a new Facebook page. Do we have
Right.
access to put that announcement on the Facebook page also?
See why not?
Who runs the town Facebook page?
Who runs the town Facebook page? Who has the administrative,
Ryan and Lori Champy.
it's as soon as it's up on the Facebook page, it can be shared and spread.
Yep.
That's good. So do we want a motion to put you two in the driver's seat on this?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that David Champion and Comeau be given the responsibility of hiring hiring a new administrative assistant.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I abstain. Mr. Chairman, I would also request that you not send me an email, about the applicants. So keep the paper trail, into your email. And then we could meet and then open them up.
Okay.
So if something happens, you don't get splashed.
Well, you don't, 91A request, something.
So you guys, when you meet, you're gonna have to notice the meeting, post it in a couple places, wherever that whole process is. And then you'll have public minutes, which will just say the meeting started and stopped. Yeah,
That the public portion of the meeting now is moving into a non-public session.
right, and
And then
track
we-
those votes.
Correct.
Votes going in and out of non-public, and that the minutes were sealed and all that.
And the minutes would have who the applicants were, what was said between us, and then we would exit the non-public meeting and then seal the minutes in public. That's it.
those non-public minutes, I'm sorry, ever get unsealed? We don't deal with non-public very much on this board, so I'm not that familiar with it. Would we, as a board, need to review those at some point to unseal them?
What we could do is we could make a motion to say that we'll keep them sealed until the person is hired. And then they can be released.
Okay. It'd be nice if we didn't create more work for ourselves to do anything later.
Right.
Okay. So you'll need to make sure that those minutes contain the decisions that were made, but not like personal commentary about people. Those portions would probably need to stay sealed forever, right?
Most likely, yes, if they have people's names on it.
Well, it's something beyond the fact that they applied for the position, right? And that somebody else got the job. If your discussion is that, oh, that person is not qualified for this job, right? Somebody could say, could feel like that was something they wouldn't want to be public, that discourse wouldn't, that was something they wouldn't want to be public, because it would, I don't know, whatever, impugn their character or something.
We'll try to talk nice.
No hand signals.
I've only noticed a very few times that people, that boards would actually go back in and unseal minutes.
Well, so the other alternative is that you guys seal them and we plan on keeping them sealed forever. And you make the decision of who to hire in public or something, or you announce that in public, or I don't know how you do that, but that's the other alternative.
Yeah, I'll find out what the rule is, so we don't, misstep.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, sorry about that.
Thank you. No. Good information. All right, so we have a plan, move forward with that. Thank you again, George, very much. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you for your service on the board as well.
Thank you.
Move on to old business, unless anybody else wants to bring anything else up. I think we're safe to move on.
Wasn't me this time.
I know, it's this time.
I just wanted to make sure of one thing, is it's not a requirement. The main requirement of the law, which I did not write, states that our minutes in draft form must be available to the public in 5 business days, draft form. That's what it says. Now, I don't think anybody's challenged this, but I think we just need to be cognizant of that in case someone does. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, well aware of it.
Thank you.
So does that mean like put a copy on the table? Does that meet the letter or the spirit of the law to put a copy on the table? Or do they have to be posted to the website or?
Just says available.
Not entirely. I put legislation in which the governor signed a few weeks ago that states if we've already put minutes on the website, if we've already used the website for those types of things, it must be used consistently. So that's been changed.
So George, should we put draft minutes on the website?
We have consistently been doing that, yes.
Okay, so those draft minutes have to go on the website then?
Well, the requirement isn't that we put draft minutes on the website. It just says whatever you do, you should do consistently.
Right, that's why I asked them what we do now with draft minutes for normal meetings, right? So I think what you're saying is we should be consistent with that, which I think is that the draft minutes have to, within 5 days, be posted to the website.
And or available to the public in the building.
In the normal way we do it. We also make a copy available here.
I don't, but what I have been doing is posting them in the 2 bulletin boards. So, well, I'm sorry, I take that back. And the other place is the minutes binder, which, yes, it is available here for the public. So yes, we have always been fulfilling that obligation.
But you guys should try to make sure you follow what George has been doing for the other minutes, because that's what your legislation says, right?
What do you mean the other minutes? Rephrase.
Minutes for the normal meetings for the past 9 years, George has been doing whatever he's been doing, right? And if I understood correctly, the legislation, the new legislation for 91A says that if you, whatever you do, you have to keep doing, or if that only applies to the website.
Well, at the website.
Okay.
Because what boards were doing is when it was convenient for them, they would not put it on the website. They would not post meetings on the website if it wasn't convenient for them. Well, now if they've always been doing it, they have to do it.
Did that pass it?
Yes, it did. It was signed into law a few weeks ago.
So whatever the process is, you have to continue using that process for all notifications.
Yes.
Okay.
So if a town wants to stop using the website, they have to stop it for
Yeah.
all draft minutes, or all minutes, or all meeting notices, or whatever.
And this started because the townspeople voted to have a website, and it should be used. That's it. That was my comment.
So we understand the urgency of those draft minutes.
Yes.
And do your best to
Yes.
meet that requirement.
I need to do better. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate what you're doing, George. We understand what's going on with other obligations, so, but please, and thank you. Old business, we also have the discussion of the zoning ordinance regarding solar panels, cell towers, wind energy. Instead of every time we have a meeting, I say, well, we're gonna put this off. It sounds like we're not doing due diligence and pushing it aside when we're not. In fact, we know that this is gonna be coming out with a master plan to understand what the people of the community really want regarding cell towers and solar panels and wind energy. So it doesn't continue to keep coming up on old business. We realize we're going to address this with the master plan. So I feel that those can come off of the old business, George, for future agendas. And we will, tonight, we'll review some proposed survey questions. That's next on the agenda is consideration of survey questions for amending the master plan. So the last assignment from the last meeting was to review the master plan survey results from 2010. So what I did is I took these survey questions and put them together with a bunch of additional questions that I feel are pertinent to our community. And this is not anything written in stone, obviously. This is just for discussion, to be able to review and maybe add or remove certain things from this. So if you guys are okay with that, I'd like to go over what the handout says here. If there are any questions, then we can discuss them. So the front page says the master plan is a guiding document for land use decisions, planning in Brookfield. The questionnaire is one method of several for the planning board to determine our community's vision and direction for the update of the current master plan. It says, please take the time to complete the survey so that we have your input included in the process. Thank you. So I mean, with a survey, we need to have some sort of a explanation as to why we're doing this, so that people understand what the importance of our master plan is and their input to the master plan.
What level of feedback do you want at this point?
Every bit of feedback. I think if you want to change wording on things, or if you have suggestions on how we should word things, that's what we're here for. We need to come up with some sort of a plate that we can put together.
Okay, so can I ask a point of order? What's the status of this document? If we start making 50,000 changes to this, are we asking George to do that, or is this who has this document right now?
I do. I have an electronic format.
Can I suggest, if you will accept this, can I suggest that we just have, any changes we suggest that we have you apply them? And
Absolutely.
I mean, just, because this, managing another document that we're editing through in meetings is a bunch of work to,
Absolutely.
for somebody to update after the fact. And George wants out, so we should honor that, so.
Yeah, accept this as a working document?
Yeah, I was gonna say, when we voted in as a working document.
I think that'd be a good idea.
Okay. Make a motion for it?
Yes, I make a motion to create a working document titled Town of Brookfield, New Hampshire 2017 Master Plan Update Community Survey.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And because I do have this in electronic format, any suggestions, I'll note and make the changes.
Okay. So, in the second line, I think planning board ought to be capitalized. And master plan is capitalized in the first line, but not the third line. But I think capitalize it to,
Yep.
so people understand it's a thing, not just describing it.
So just to clarify, as far as indentations and formatting, I realize that there are some formatting and indentation issues on this. So we can skip over that and I'll work on that.
Well, that's why I asked, my first question was, you know, what
Yeah.
level of feedback do you want on this?
Yeah.
So,
Steve, do you mind if I edit little thing, English teacher here, just little things on this draft?
I
Just
don't mind
do-
at all.
Okay,
I would
it'd be
appreciate
quick,
that.
okay.
Yeah.
I look at this and I think there may need to be some organization into maybe categories
Yep.
there.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is
I
obviously
love
a great
this,
draft,
I love your questions.
so I think it's good, Dave. It's a good start.
I felt like we needed to have something in front of us. that
Absolutely.
We've been talking about it and nobody was putting something together,
This is
so
very good.
So do you have an idea of what sections are gonna be in the master plan?
That's what I
And
was
where
just-
I'm going with that is, because once you hit a section, then you can slot and generate the questions to support those sections.
right. Right.
That's why I wonder if it should be categorized more as it kind of in line with the outline of the master plan. And that way it can be easy to interpret.
so I haven't flipped all the way through yet, but the parts I saw all seemed really aimed at like the vision.
For the most part.
And, you know, that's, I mean, I don't know, I think that's a good place to start. It's hard to know what to, I don't know. I mean, there are some that are gonna weigh in on like housing or something like that, if we have a housing section, but we really need to have a vision, understand the vision for what people want in terms of housing before we can, I don't know, dig too deep on housing.
Okay.
Well, there's 11 sections, and it does make logical sense to have each section have questions that are in the survey, you know, according to each section.
And make sure we don't have redundancy.
Correct.
What's the
So-
11 sections then?
Pardon me?
What's the 11 sections then?
I didn't hear.
He wants to know what the 11th section is.
Do you want me to go down the list?
No, what has 11 sections?
The master
The
plan.
master plan does,
Which one?
the current one.
Come, okay.
So just to be clear, there are only 2 areas that the RSA mandates that you have to have included in your master plan. We include additional things in our master plan, and one of the original discussions for the master plan was to try to trim the fat, because there's a lot of stuff in there, and once you get a large document, people aren't gonna read the whole document. They're gonna care about the vision and then some bullet points.
Can you recall the 2 territory sections?
Not off the top of my head, I went on to SRPC, I will get that. Actually, it's gonna be in that book there. So SRPC gave some towns that they wanted to use for boilerplate examples. I won't name the towns, but one of the towns I looked at, there's 120 pages to their master plan. I don't feel we need a 120-page master plan, and I don't know how you guys feel about that, but
Bear in mind, this is a town of 700 people.
that's why I feel we don't need
There's
120
nothing here.
pages.
I think we should shoot for a page per person.
As long as we keep it to 8 characters per page.
I mean, there is stuff about streetlights and sidewalks and retail space and commercial areas, and we don't have that. And again, we need to start somewhere, and I think that starting with a vision of what the people in town want will give us a good feel of what we need to do in our master plan.
Is this fired off a boilerplate, or is it original?
This is taken from other surveys from other towns in the area.
So just a comment, you sort of said, oh, streetlights and sidewalks. Just because we don't have those things, doesn't mean we shouldn't maybe ask about them in the survey and just confirm,
That's fair.
you know, our bias that we think that people don't want. The reason we don't have it is that we don't want it. Maybe we can confirm that. I mean, it's not uncommon for people to move up from Massachusetts and say, hey, how come we don't have blah, 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 right? They want to move here, but then they want all their amenities, but, so.
But that's what the survey's for, that's gonna hash out all that stuff, we hope, right? So, Rick?
Just bear in mind, this is a town of 700 people in Rod, we're both close to a process. We understand we're broke, we don't have any money, and I question the sustainability of this town. So having a survey that asks, would you like this, would you like that, is
Wish list.
it's a wish list. It's not reality. There's no streetlights here, we're not putting them on.
Well, maybe you can ask the question in such a way that you sort of address, do you want this thing and are you willing to pay for it? You know, or something. I don't know how to ask that,
Sure,
but.
slide a price tag right next to it. Just, let's be real about this thing. 700 people,
I mean,
nothing here.
even if we were flush with money, I still wouldn't want streetlights.
Right.
That's not where I want to live, right? But that's me, you know.
So you know how to fill in your survey.
Campbell, I think it was Campbell.
Town we came from, they were removing streetlights.
Just for the record for everybody, it's 674:2, and it describes everything, so it's RSA 674:2.
And what are the sections that are required? Is it vision and one other, or?
That's the
Vision
what comes
is
to
the one.
Might want to mention the RSA.
Yeah.
You know, that just, you know, so if somebody, you know, wants to understand what a master plan is, and they want to feel some pain, they can go look it up. So, on question 1, are you a resident, yes or no? And if yes, please check whether you're year-round, seasonal, or non-resident. So, I understand that we want to get that information, but if they said yes, then they won't say non-resident.
So we just take that one off.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm just, you know, just get rid of the yes and no part, and just try to get them to categorize themselves, categorize their residency. And are you a resident isn't the right words, but I'm not sure what the right words are, but. Or just throw things out?
Yeah, I was thinking, I'm
Oh, you're
trying to
thinking
think
about
of how we would actually put, like, year-round, seasonal, non-resident.
Please describe your residency status,
There you go.
or please describe your residency.
What does that mean?
What? Town
Your
resident?
Residency.
Where do you live? Are you a year-round resident, or are you a seasonal resident, or you're non-resident of Brookfield?
You just took off non-resident.
No,
No, no,
what
no.
we do is we took off the first question, asking whether or not you are a resident,
Oh, okay.
and just have, please describe your residency, year-round, seasonal, or non-resident, because you
Yeah.
have someone that's renting.
Yeah, you might want to include Brookfield, so, because Ed's gonna think you're asking about your immigration status or something.
That makes sense.
That's what someone will say when they get it, and they'll throw it in the trash if they don't completely understand it.
English teacher, how would you want to word that?
I like what you said about your resident status.
Please describe your resident status in Brookfield.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just to solidify or to, I guess, underscore Rick's point that we don't want to invite people thinking that, oh, all my wildest dreams can come true if I fill out this survey. We might want to put a disclaimer at the top that says something about, you know, this is to take a pulse check. This isn't necessarily what's going to occur in Brookfield with a majority. You know, because I think sometimes when people fill out something like this, they think that if the majority of the town suddenly wants, I don't know, commercial growth, that's what this is about. Even though you say it pretty clearly, but I almost wonder if, right, a guiding document for land use, it's one method. I just think it needs to be kind of clearly spelled out, because I agree that when given choices, people all of a sudden think it's a choice.
So what if we had something like, to understand the vision of the people of our community?
Right, and that this is
Just your
strictly,
vision.
not hypothetical, but
Not
non-binding, yeah, something so that people really don't all of a sudden come to you and say, but I voted for, I checked this one. Because surveys can be empowering.
Good suggestion. Thank you, Sarah.
Mr. Chair, can I read the part of the RSA?
Please.
The master plan shall be a public record subject to the provisions of 91A. The master plan shall include, at a minimum, the following required sections. A vision section that serves to direct, can I borrow those glasses you have?
Yeah, the right lens is about to fall out though, so just, the frame is kind of broken. It's not kind of broken, it's
Oh,
broken.
goodness. A vision section that serves to direct the other sections of the plan. This section shall contain a set of statements which articulate the desires of the citizens affected by the master plan, not only for their locality, but for the region and the whole state. It shall contain a set of guiding principles and priorities to implement that vision. B, so the first one is the vision section. B, a land use section upon which all the following sections shall be based. This section shall translate the vision statements into physical terms, based on a study of population, economic activity, and natural, historic, and cultural resources. It shall show existing conditions and the proposed location, extent, and intensity of future land use. Now, number 3, it says section 3, the master plan may also include, may, not shall,
Correct.
include the following sections. Again, A, transportation section, community facilities section, an economic development section, a natural resource section, a natural hazards section, a recreation section, a utility and public service section, a section which identifies cultural, archaeological, and historic resources, a regional concerns section, a neighborhood plan section, a community design section, a housing section, an implementation section, an energy section, and a statement of policy on the conservation of energy. And the last one, a coastal management section. So those are the sections that we may add. So the only 2 that are required is a vision section and a land use section, which has the study of the population, economic activity, etc.
Thank you, Ed.
And just for the record, inside that binder, which is the RSAs that change the land use, I didn't recall anything that was part of the master plan, so this still is maintained.
Okay, excellent. Rich, did you have something?
Yeah, I was going to ask questions about this or make a recommendation.
Sure.
I don't know why we, you, whatever, are asking questions 2 through 5.
Demographics. That's in our current,
If that's okay, but see, I react to that. How are you going to use that data? Are you going to make a decision based upon a person's age or whether they're employed? I don't think you need that data for the
I think it helps you
better understand the change in your community over
Right.
time.
But that's why we have the census that we do every 10 years. And that's where we detail out what the population is, what the distribution is, and whether they own or rent. So I would react to that. I don't think it's the board's position to ask that information, in my opinion.
So where did we get the results for the survey from 2000? Because there's,
Doesn't make it right.
on all towns that I've seen master plans, they have graphs of all the demographics.
Pull it out of the census.
That's available through the census.
Pull it out of the census.
I think that it's helpful. So the way I would view this is to understand who answered the survey. To understand the strengths and weaknesses of the results as a whole.
So,
If we get 30 people to answer the survey,
yeah,
did we get 30 people that are all retired and over 60 that answered the survey, or did we get a cross section does the demographics of the survey, are they similar to the demographics from the census?
so there were all retired people that answered.
And suppose you do get that, to just throw it
What are you
out.
gonna do? You get all 30 are all retired. You know,
And this is only one method of acquiring the information needed for the
I-
master plan.
Yeah, I think then you say, our survey didn't reach enough people.
Exactly.
We're not done with the survey yet, whereas if the survey demographics look similar to our town demographics, then maybe you say, yeah, we've reached, enough people, and we got a representative group of people to respond. I don't know how else you would know that, right? If we got 400 responses, great, we got a good number of people, unless they're all from, Poland or something, I don't know, they're all non-residents, right?
I'd lose it too.
Yeah, I don't
Or
think this
just
came
add on
from
a
the
couple
census,
things.
I think this came from the questions, because there are 160 citizens that answered, and when you tally the numbers up for these areas, it equates to roughly the number of people that responded to the survey. So it lets you understand if you're collecting the full view of the town versus, let's say we send it out and we get 30 people that they're self-employed, they have businesses. And they mark down on here, yeah, we should have retail space and we should have commercial space. Then they're the ones that are gonna determine the
so you're making the judgment.
master plan.
You should be making the judgment.
No, but you put the numbers down so you can let people understand who answered that, because we have this attached to our master plan now. So you can see the type, how many people, what the age groups are that answered this master plan.
My input.
Appreciate your input.
Would you feel better about it if those were marked as optional? Not that everything isn't optional, right? I didn't even leave anything blank, but would you feel better if it said employment and then in parentheses optional, for these first handful, and then the rest aren't marked that way?
I think that'd be fine.
Would that make you feel better?
I think it'd make a lot of people feel better.
That at least we were sensitive to the fact that, this is, not land use questions.
That's right, they're not.
Well, then making it optional, that would take out the questions that you're using to understand where your data's coming from.
You say they're optional, but 95% of the people are still gonna answer them.
Well, then your data's skewed, you don't know where it came from.
But it's only skewed by 5%. If we find that if only 20% of the people answer those questions, then yeah, we don't know anything about our survey at that point. But if most people answered, then we mostly know who answered.
I think we should put the demographic information at the end.
I think that's a good point.
And
Because some people could read that and throw it away. I'm not gonna do this.
I like that, and we could also have a little preamble on it, basically saying to answer the question of why are we asking these questions? And it would be, I think the answer would be to understand who, population who answered the survey. So we can understand the validity of the survey. Now, do you feel the same way about question 1?
How are we gonna mail it out? You gonna use the tax records? I wrestled with that when I read number 1, so I didn't wanna bring it up then. How are you gonna get this out?
My guess would be we have 10 different ways of getting it out.
But the tax records include a lot of non-residents, but they have input. So, where are you gonna get the list from? I don't know.
I would imagine, among other places, it's posted on the website. There's a stack of them here. Maybe we do a mailing out to everyone, the tax records.
I think the tax records.
I think that's the way we should do it.
Blast it right out.
Maybe we should have another dinner.
Yeah, I mean, another barbecue.
I missed the first one.
Oh, it's good.
So if you're gonna be real broad, then I think you have to ask the question, are you a resident? We have we have about 250 households, 300 households in the town. But we have 500 property cards we mail, 500 bills.
So I wasn't asking whether or not we should ask the question. I was asking, should it be the first question or in the group at the end with your employment and stuff like that?
Do we want non-residents to answer it? If they're renting, they're not paying a tax to the town,
Well,
right?
there are probably a lot of people who pay taxes to the town and
Just
don't live
ask
here,
the
that don't live
question.
here,
Well, okay.
because they own a piece of land here.
So it's still part of the community.
They also have a strong opinion of why they own the property here, that it's valuable,
Right, they have a stake.
Yeah.
you know. They probably share some of the charm that we do, so we need to be heard also.
Good point.
They also have it's an investment. Right?
So-
I mean, they've got resources tied up in the land here that they may want to protect their investment, right? They don't want us lowering their property values.
I guess the question I have is, we're on page 1. We're reviewing exactly what we did in 2000. So how many people here were in 2000 when we did the survey results? This page 1 is a mirror of exactly what the survey questions were in 2000. So I guess the question is, do we want to ask these questions or don't we want to ask the questions? It didn't seem to be an issue when we sent it out before. I'm curious why it would be an issue now when we're trying to understand the demographics for the survey results. Sarah?
It's the first swag. I put this in an envelope as is and send it. You'll get a first swag of data. And you're gonna have public sessions or something at the coffees to get this thing rolling in the future. This will give you something to look at right away. Instead of, like you said, we're on the first page, how many pages in here?
Well, I'm hoping we can trim it down too. Because I know if I got a packet like this, I'd be going, yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, it's on the first page, we're not done talking about it, and you've got all these pages here. And just thumbing through, some of them may require more attention than we've given this first page.
Right. Some of them we might just take off altogether. Sarah?
So just a couple things. I do think that you want to front load with what your purpose is in this, because a lot of people are going to skip the first paragraph. They're going to go right to the questions. And so if you start with questions that are aiming at your purpose, which is really the master plan. So I agree, not just because I'm married to them, but putting those demographic questions at the end might just make more clear why people are filling this out. And anything that can be done to sort of encourage people and not put them off by questions that they might feel, well, what business is it of yours? I think it's okay to cushion that a little bit.
We haven't gotten to the religion question.
I know, right?
People even building mosques in the town of Brookfield. I haven't hit that
And then
yet.
the other piece is I was trying to kind of quickly write down the categories. I think once whoever is going to look at this and kind of categorize the questions, that's going to help trim it, because you might see two of the same question or similar
Right.
questions. So if you put things that are sort of in the recreation section. So those are and I made a bunch of little marks on here.
So I made a note, we're going to take questions 1 through 5, put them at the end of it.
I
That
think
way
it
we
just
can.
helps solidify the purpose of the questionnaire.
Three easy questions to answer too. You put them at the end, they're like, oh, at the end of this is easy, and then they inadvertently fill it out.
Good point.
So,
And also, something about non-binding, just gathering information from the top paragraph and ship it. We've been talking about this master plan for a long time, and nothing's been done. Sometimes the way to start a process is just something, right or wrong, just get something moving, send it out right or wrong, and get some response back, and that will generate interest, and people will start asking questions and be ready for the next step. Let's do it.
Well, you graded it and everything. You're not supposed to use red ink. You hurt my feelings.
Well, it's not red, it's black.
Most people sensitive to red ink now?
Yeah.
It's
You
a
can't use red
psychological
ink in
damage.
schools.
Yeah.
Really?
It explains
Yeah.
that.
I use purple.
Psychologically damaging to your children to use red ink.
Well, how do you make the person feel if you don't put it in?
motivate them to do better so they get less red.
Right, it's supposed to make them feel that.
How about red magic marker, 8-inch thick? Seen that too.
I want you to stamp F.
All right, so we all agree that I'm gonna put the questions at the end. We're gonna move on to page 2.
Before, can I just make some quick comments without
Absolutely.
editing everything? But, so employment, is this supposed to be check all that apply? Somebody could be retired and, part-time.
Right,
Somebody could be self-employed, part-time or full-time.
right.
Somebody, could be retired and self-employed part-time. So, I guess do we want this to be a loosey-goosey kind of question, or do we want it to narrow it down to be like full-time or part-time or not, or, I don't know.
Well,
Anyway, I'm just asking the question.
yeah, looking at this, I'm gonna say that if someone was retired, they marked it as being retired and not retired and part-time.
Well, 8 or others,
Because we
what
had-
are those others?
It's hard to believe you finish a bachelor degree.
What?
Oh, stuff, I mean, just send it.
These kinds of questions need to have,
Imagine if you had my brain and it would stop, you'd have to drink.
you're gonna be using these as percentages to figure out where people are within town.
Right.
When you
So
look-
check 1.
Check one, you get back here, some of these other questions are more, trying to gauge a pulse of where people are in their thoughts of,
So-
these are very definitive items that are mostly just trying to weigh yes, no, maybe.
So I would suggest thinking about splitting number 2 into a question about how are you employed? And maybe another second question about more like where or what kind of company you're employed at, if the self-employed is important. And you may even want a third, which is sort of where physically are you employed? Are you working in town, nearby town, or are you driving to Massachusetts
I
every
think we're
day?
getting a little.
I don't think that matters for a survey for the community. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't care if somebody works out of town full-time or in town full-time.
Well, you may be right, but that if we get enough responses, you could start to look at, okay, well, the people that are commuting to Massachusetts, these things are important to them, and the people that live and work in town, these things are, they have a different view of the town, right? If we don't ask the question, we can't get those answers, but we may not have enough responses anyway to slice and dice that way anyway.
We only had 160 out of 500 surveys, so I think we're overthinking it.
Anyway, okay.
Well, we can always follow up with another survey down the road if we need to get a more definitive look at what's happening here. I mean, I agree with Rick here. I say we just get this thing out the door and in the mail and start getting some feedback. I mean, these questions are good. We don't need perfection in the survey in order to get responses that help us guide our vision here.
It's gonna cause people to understand that we're moving forward on this, making some more people in this room.
Mr. Chairman, do we make a decision before we do all this to decide what sections we're going to actually have? Or are we?
No, I think we need to get the vision and then determine sections based on this. Yeah, if you look at Diane sent a class that she did with SRPC. It was a PowerPoint presentation, and it goes through the steps of creating a master plan. We're not creating, we're kind of editing a master plan. And one of the things that starts with is the vision's the first thing you start with, and you get the pulse by the vision by doing a survey to your community and understand what the people in the community want. And then you develop your master plan on the sections from there.
Well, we should test that vision statement from our current master plan right here in the survey. Just lay it
To
out.
see if it still
Yeah.
is valid, right?
Yes.
Right.
Do you agree, disagree, firmly agree? You know, just get some weight to where people are with that.
So on number 3, until a few months ago, that would have angered my children, or one of my children. We may want to have a category for under 18.
Are we sending this to every resident, every household?
Every household.
So how, every household, so now think about how you answer these questions from a household.
Households should never be asked to do a survey, ever.
People may not agree within the household.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Well, I mean, that's how we do it.
marriage is difficult enough already. We don't need to add surveys, household surveys or one.
So, are we gonna, how do you do that, Rich, is my question. How do you,
What do you-
this house has 3 people living in it.
You can use voters. Voter registration is public information. If you want to get people in the household, you're not going to get everybody, but, and that doesn't get property owners. But if a lot of households have 2 people that have completely different occupations. One may work, one may be retired. Different ages, different everything.
Right.
Well, more surveys are available at the town now,
Yes.
if needed.
As I say, we could always, this is gonna be right on our website too. It's just, if the wife or husband wants to print it out and fill out their own survey, they can do that as well.
And what's the
There's
vote?
got to be some free online survey
There's-
thing.
Yeah.
Survey monkey.
There's Google Forms.
We can do
Yeah.
that.
Google Forms is free and it will compute all of the percentages for you.
Yeah.
I can even help you make it if you want. I do it all the time. So you can just transfer a lot of this stuff that way, especially for the younger people who might be more savvy online. They can do it that way.
Thank you. I think that's a good suggestion.
It'll save us a lot of paper too.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think we can force everybody to go online and do it, but
Well, if you send out one per household and then you have a few people, like I pictured the Champies, maybe 2 or 3 people would want to fill it out. So instead of printing out another one, some people can go fill out a Google form.
I like that, yeah.
We sent out a form or a survey for the old schoolhouse renovation. We have that list still, because we got a lot of people back from what to do with the schoolhouse.
That's 60. We didn't get a lot. We didn't get many back in that. I think we used the voter list. And we didn't get great participation.
Well, we could easily enough put a link right on the webpage or Facebook as well. I don't know if I want people that aren't residents of
Right.
Yeah, you get a very,
on a town website.
That's the only thing that would concern me is other people that aren't residents answering the questions,
Right.
voter fraud.
Right.
I guess you could call. But we gotta start somewhere, so.
is someone really gonna?
I know, it's a lot of, that's a
I
big
don't
commitment.
know.
They have to really have a lot of hate in their heart.
There's a batch of people out there just waiting for these surveys.
Yeah.
They send them out.
All right, let's move on.
Anyway, for number 3, I suggest a category under 18.
Okay.
Just, I think the kids are the future, and I don't know, whatever.
And they're gonna answer how the school's doing as well, too. I think they have a better insight. I feel that the schools are doing all of
Brace
this.
yourself.
I have people that are under the age of 18, and they can tell you one school versus another very easily. Go to page 2. So you want to hit these one at a time? We'll just quickly go through them, or do you want to go over them a page at a time and make suggestions?
I had a question on number 7 about should we promote commercial growth? Is that going to confuse people? Because most people think we don't have anything commercial here in town, aside from maybe the disc golf.
Zoning is clear on that too. Home-based businesses.
Home-based businesses are commercial, but, I mean, so, I'm the only one who would think this, but I'm sitting here thinking, do you mean as a primary use or as a accessory use, right? But I'm the only one who would think that, but do you mean as a primary use?
It would have to be defined better, I think. But the intent is primary use.
Because you could ask the question, should we have a commercial zone? Or should we consider having a commercial zone, or something?
I think that's later on in here.
Yeah, 27 is
Yeah.
a pattern of commercial development would be preferred to see in Brookfield.
Or change commercial growth to something that indicates in the context of home occupations, right?
Yeah.
Should we promote commercial growth that's allowed currently, right?
Yeah.
But should we be encouraging it?
Yeah.
Anyway, that will come.
I think that's a good thing to say, is as is currently defined. Your home business, or, can you say that again, how you exactly, where do you remember?
I don't know. I mean,
I would say as it's currently defined,
this is currently allowed.
as currently allowed.
I think the spirit of this question in 2000 was, do you want any mall, gas stations, shopping centers, factories in town?
And I saw it as you want a commercial zone with clean light industry. I think they're different.
They are, yeah.
The word promote makes me think like just encouraging something that's more of something that's allowed. Whereas like if you're talking about like a light industrial kind of zone or something like that, that would be, I wouldn't use the word promote. I would say, should we change the zoning to have a, light industrial zone or something, I don't know.
What if we say, should we encourage home-based business growth as currently allowed?
I think that's a fine question. I think that
Let's strike it.
strike 7 as is written.
Yeah.
But I think asking about home-based businesses is not a bad idea.
That's in there.
Yeah, it's probably one, it's,
27, I think. Nope. There's 227.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm numbering them.
The first 27.
yes, the first 27.
Yep, so that's covered in there, so we could probably get rid of 7 altogether, unless we want to ask a question whether or not people want commercial
Wait,
growth.
You can combine
You
it.
can ask that question and follow up with a more specific, if you want to. I think some of this needs to be kind of walked out a little bit into the categories that could either, you can test a very general idea and then follow it up with a couple of specifics, maybe in different directions, to kind of gauge where people's interests are. That's what in looking through the back part of this, a lot of this is kind of testing some specifics that would probably go well with this first 2 pages, 3 pages. But is that, pointing to some of the issues, some of the things in the current master plan that we want to test.
We could also do a second survey of, people just said that they had some interest in a commercial
Right.
zone.
Let's talk about some more.
Yeah, let's ask 7 questions about that or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we don't have to, because if we ask every question we can think of, which would be my tendency, we'd have 500 questions.
Yeah.
So, sort of going along with number 6, we could ask if we want to be promoting agriculture, right? The 2 main things that are allowed in town are residential and agricultural.
So add another category.
I'm just saying that you're asking about building houses,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we could go the other direction.
Change 7 to agriculture.
There you go. Number 7, change commercial to agriculture.
Like Tim said, in 27, you're asking a question on changing zoning instead of to allow commercial. So we'll get an answer there.
Right. Okay, any more comments on 8 through 10?
I think 8 is a little confusing. Should we appoint? The word appoint and fund, I would just maybe simplify it to hire.
Agreed.
We should hire a town administrator, although obviously, maybe, somebody's wish list point, maybe we should say it has to be funded. Should we raise taxes and hire a town administrator? Hmm? No, but I mean, that's the choice, right? We gotta raise taxes if we want to spend more money. If we want to make it clear that something costs more money, we should put the word taxes there, or put dollar signs or something. I don't know.
Should we have high-paid town employees with benefits?
So you
Like the selectmen, you mean?
With benefits?
You want to change
Okay, yes.
appoint and fund to just hire,
Just a thought.
I think.
Should the town pay a town administrator?
Because the selectmen are slackers.
Should the selectmen be fired? Yes. I'll vote for that.
Okay.
So number 9, if we have to reduce the number of questions we've got, I would suggest number 9 get cut.
Yeah,
Because
we went through that.
we voted a capital improvement plan in, we eventually did it, and then we voted it out. So,
Again, I took this off of the 2000 survey, and I did the same thing. I'm like, we've already been down that road, but I would agree with that. Agree with that, Ed?
I don't see the harm in leaving it in either.
only in the interest of not having 500 questions, but we could leave it in for now with the idea that we'll cut it later when we decide that 30 pages is too long.
All right. I put it as a maybe.
10 to number 10. Good.
Is it population growth or is it?
Yeah, and all sorts of question marks around that one too. And we say manage the new limit? Is manage,
There are some towns that only release a certain number of building permits.
Sure.
So you just want to qualify what kind of growth, so that it doesn't make it seem like we're gonna have, culling of the population.
Right.
There's towns that limit the
Yes.
amount of.
They'll only issue so many building permits in here.
Town of Rye,
Rye is one of them.
regularly, Newcastle, all of those.
Belmont's another one.
All coastal towns have that.
Greenland.
you want to make sure that you don't exceed the capacity of your infrastructure.
You had a good suggestion for the wording though.
What's that?
I thought you had suggested something, because it almost seems like we're managing growth like neo-Nazis or something.
Like, don't have babies, is
Yeah.
how I read it.
Yeah, that's not the intent.
Right.
So I think if you just qualify, just throw a word in front of growth.
Well, I think it's a little too general.
Right.
Out of a question, it probably should be stricken, just,
No.
Well,
Instead talking about maybe some of the other issues that we just brought up, which is number of building permits issued in a calendar year, or, those are growth controls.
Residential growth.
well,
Yes,
is this,
absolutely, yeah.
is this the
Yeah.
twin of number 6? Where 6 is saying, should we,
I agree.
It is.
I agree, yes.
Yeah, because he's saying, should we promote residential growth, and then should we attempt to manage growth?
somebody may say, we strongly disagree that we should be promoting growth, but somebody may strongly disagree that we should limit growth,
Right.
or call the babies. I mean, and we could ask them next to each other and try to word them so that people understand that they are, if they like the status quo, they strongly disagree with both. And if they want to confuse us, they strongly agree with both.
Yeah, I'd say one or the other.
Rick?
Question 11 through 19. That looks like has nothing to do with the master plan.
Yeah.
I think it actually, some of it does. You may, like, we contract with Wakefield
We're
for,
off the master plan, we're asking people what they think of services.
right, but service, changes in services can result in changes in things that would show up in the master plan. For example, let's say that we decided that we aren't happy with the solid waste disposal. What are we gonna do? We're gonna build it ourselves maybe, right? And that would show up as town facilities in the master plan.
Right.
If we wanna have our own police department, where are we gonna put the building? Fire department, where are we gonna put the building? We're gonna put it on property we just bought, right? But
Yeah.
all that stuff would show up in the master plan.
We can't do that. We are? Nope.
You have to understand how the people feel about the current services that we offer, right?
It just looks like a pitch list. Rate your services. What's that to do with the master plan?
A what list?
A Twitch list. I don't think it belongs there.
I think that if,
Rick, did you do your homework from the last meeting
What was it?
to review the survey questions
Yeah.
from the current? So we asked these same questions in 2000.
Right.
So the question is, why was it okay then, but it's not okay now to ask those questions?
bunch of idiots back in 2000.
Well, maybe it could be worded differently so it's not as sensitive to the situation we currently are in.
Point taken.
Are we in a situation? Guess I'm not aware of the situation.
Well, I don't think there's a situation, just the agreement that we have currently for all of these services.
For all the services.
Oh, in Wakefield, it's a fraction of these, it's a half of these services at most.
Right, but
But how they feel.
If people say we're unhappy with them,
But that's good feedback
don't
from them
have-
too. If
Right,
people
but I
in town
think it
aren't
could be-
happy.
I think it could be asked as far as like, we could say, instead of going through summer road maintenance, winter road maintenance, fire protection, some of these are, we could ask the question of, what are your feelings of the, do you agree, disagree, strongly disagree with the quality, or I'm butchering it right now, of town maintenance, whether it be, I don't know, I don't have a good answer for this right now. But rather than be a checklist of all the things that somebody may have an axe to grind about, and maybe it doesn't need to be this specific, maybe it needs to be something a little bit more.
You satisfied with municipal services.
So, on the previous survey, there's actually, I think people were,
Pretty satisfied.
forthright and, not just saying yes, not just saying they didn't like it, right? They weren't thrilled with road maintenance, but they were generally happy, it was adequate or better for the most part. Rescue and ambulance was very few people unhappy with it, same for law enforcement. Public access to lakes was, everyone was unhappy with. and except for the 30 people on the lake, and, solid waste disposal, and education, I mean, people were generally happy with those. I mean,
So where are those, where is that reflected in the master plan?
There was something in the master plan about getting access to the lake for the
All the
public.
other ones too, though. My point in supporting Rick, I mean, it's just,
So I agree with you to the extent that, like, nothing shows up as a red flag, but if, my feeling would be, if we get a really big responsive pour on one of these, that's something we should focus on. And the things that are,
And how would you focus on summer road maintenance? So if summer road maintenance came up poor, then what would be the focus?
well, right now we contract that out, right? So
Yeah.
one of the possibilities would be that we would explore hiring
Was that a
Town maintenance.
planning board responsibility?
it's not except for how we plan for it, like where would we put the buildings, where would we park the equipment, where would we, whatever, all that stuff.
Would it be their responsibility? If the quality of services that are being performed are not up to the standard of residents, would it be a selectman responsibility?
forget about where you were going.
Yeah.
A nice general question of, are you happy with our services, and where do you see them going in the future? Let somebody give us a sense.
Yes, right in sentence.
We should be self-sufficient in 20 years, we're happy where we are. So just ask a generic question, are you happy with our services? And you can say road, and you can say whatever you want there, but don't lead them, just, ask for some feedback. That would be, I think, a good thing to
I think
do.
people are less apt to write a paragraph or a sentence. I think it's going to be easier for them to receive something and say it's good or adequate.
Like I said, if they feel strongly about it,
Then they'll say poor.
then they'll write something in. They'll write it in the issue.
And there's comments as well. People are going to have comments.
Yeah.
Where do you feel Brookfield will be in 10 years? Or do you have suggestions for improvement for the town of Brookfield?
Yeah.
That's where they can put the comments.
I have just a question. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say that law enforcement comes back as poor. In a master plan, is that something we can do anything about? Or are we just kind of wanting to get a sense that people are unhappy, but our hands are kind of tied because of the size of the town and our dependence on Wakefield, or? So is the purpose to just get information that we can actually do, that's actionable in a master plan? Or is the purpose to just get a pulse check overall? Because if you find out that people are really unhappy about something that can't be addressed in the master plan, what happens with that?
Well, the plan, I mean,
Go ahead.
so the plan is supposed to be looking out, I don't know, 10, 20 years,
Right.
right? So if we were in a high growth phase, our 700 people we'd be looking at, 1,200, 1,500 people.
Are we?
In 20 years, we're not there, but if we were, right? So how would we deal with, over the next 20 years, doubling the population? Well, having our own police force might start to make sense, because we might have enough need that we'd have more than half of a full-time person's worth of work, right? So it's, something like that might start to make sense. Well, what do you need to do that in terms of land use and, town facilities? Well, you need a place for a police station, you need some place to park the cars, you need some, whatever. I mean, and that shows up in the master plan.
But look at the way you said that. And that's not the questions we're asking. Where do you want to be in 10 to 20 years? That's a different set of questions that we have in front of us here.
I understand. I'm just saying that something like municipal services show up in the master plan.
Yes.
And we happen to have,
But the view is out 10, 20 years. It's not next month. It's where do you think we should be in 10 years? Where do you think we should be in 20 years? That goes in the master plan. And that's the vision I think you want to capture.
so you're suggesting that rather than have people grade these, ask them what they would like to see us doing in 20 years. Do we still have a road agent that's a contractor? Do we still have Wakefield solid waste disposal?
You don't want a summer road maintenance, that's what's happening today.
You can ask, what is your vision of, what's the vision of the status of the roads going forward in 10 years, People may say, well, I want to see 109 rebuilt in 10 years. Some people may say that everything's just fine. you
shovel
know,
dirt roads,
yeah, that may be the case.
shovel all paved roads, right? I mean, there are those kinds of issues as well that, you know, affect town facilities, anyway.
But again, people, if they select that the road maintenance is poor, and we're trying to plan ahead for 10 years, then the master plan would include that in there to say, well, right now, people think that our town roads are poor, which I'm just speaking for example, 'cause, so we have to have some sort of a direction from the community to know where we're going in 10 years. You can't ask people to try to guess the future. Do you think 109 is gonna be okay in 10 years?
Right.
Right now, it's not the greatest, so they're gonna put down 109 needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
So in a 10-year plan, that's what we put in there to say, we should be putting something in the budget to fix 109.
State road.
True.
Example.
General roads.
Well, the state's not gonna be able to afford the roads, they're gonna give them back to the towns, and we're gonna be stuck with it.
If you look at the DOT report, so it looks like Governor's Road has that.
So 28 grand will take care of everything.
Everything, maybe.
The roads.
Do we want to just hold off on this one and maybe some of these things will come out in the other questions and we can, again, this is a working document, so if we decide that,
So I think that if these would be candidate, I would view these as, most of these as candidates for removal if we try to trim down the number of questions. In 2000, or whenever this other survey was, right, the access to the lake was a big deal. It shows up in the master plan as something that we should work on, the town should work on, and nothing's happened.
Right.
So I'm not sure whether we should ask a specific question about, is that still important? Maybe that would be one that is maybe, you know, still relevant and maybe important to ask, but maybe just leave you guys alone. I don't know.
I also thought it was interesting when I read it, that they talked about Brookfield Lakes. It just should have said Kingswood Lake.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have public access up there. You can walk up there,
Oh, I agree. So
so,
you can put a boat in,
yep.
you can swim. You jump through the ice.
All right, so let's just put that down as a candidate for removal, and we might have this come out in other areas, but I think we got good feedback on it. So 19, 20, 21 through 24.
I think 19 goes with the other page.
Yep.
So are people gonna be hesitant to answer number 20? Is that too personal?
No, because we allow home business, right?
Yeah, but we also, to register, I mean, I don't know, people like to fly under the radar sometimes. I don't know, I'm just asking the question.
I can answer no.
Or they can skip it.
Do we wanna know about home businesses in this survey?
Well, I want to understand if there's a change from the last survey, right? To know whether or not there's an increase in home business in Brookfield.
Was that what question?
I guess it doesn't matter for the master plan, that's,
I mean, because we could ask more about home businesses, right? Whether, you know, how many employees do you have, you know, from outside, how many people are participating from, you know, that live there? How many employees do you have that, you know,
That's prime.
should we encourage or discourage it? I'm just saying that if we want to understand home businesses, home-based businesses, then I'm not sure what we would do with the information, but if we want to know more about it, there's a lot more we could ask.
I'm wondering what decisions would be made in our master plan based on home-based businesses.
limitations?
Yeah, there's a lot of zoning limitations on it. I mean, we could, you know, people could want us to tighten it down or loosen it up, right? Because it's not only what are you doing, but are you happy with other people doing it? Those are sort of that set of questions as well.
That's not what 20 asks.
I understand, I'm just saying that on the topic of home-based businesses, there's a bunch of stuff we could ask
Yes.
that is relevant to
Yes.
the direction the zoning should go.
Yes.
I mean, as far as the time that I've been here, I've seen more home-based businesses popping up in Brookfield that I'm aware of.
So the question for the survey should be, are you happy with that direction? You want to continue going that way? That would be an interesting question.
Good.
Much
You want a wordsmith it?
Uh,
Are you happy with the current zoning regs for home-based business?
That's good. That's good.
Does that apply English teacher?
It does.
And that would go into the economic development section, which proposes actions to suit the community's economic goals, given its economic strengths and weakness in the region.
So strike 20 and change it to, are you happy with the current zoning regs for home-based business? Yes or no?
It's a little bit of a tough question for a lot of people to answer because they may not know what they are, they don't know what they are.
Let's skip questions.
Yes, no, I don't. They would have to be aware.
Neutral.
You could also make it a statement that they can agree or disagree
Yeah.
strongly or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah. And we could also, I mean, we may want to think about how much we want to explain some of these questions. Like on that one, you could explain that, you know, in the past few years, we voted to loosen the be more permissive to home-based businesses, and there are now more home-based businesses. Do you think this, we should continue encouraging home-based businesses, strongly agree to strongly disagree, right? And gives people some background on the fact that we actually have made a change in the last few years. It's had an effect in the last few years, and people could be like, oh, this is out of control. Strongly disagree, we should continue supporting it.
The first 27 is a similar question, what would you suggest? Maybe strike 20 and work on 27.
The first choice.
Yeah, let's do 27.
That's okay.
Given the current economic climate, residential and home business growth have been slow in Brookfield, which they haven't been. Do you think that something can be done at the local level to help improve the situation?
You reword that one to what Rich had proposed. It might be less loaded.
Yeah. So I'll strike 20 altogether, and we'll change the wording of 27 to be, are you happy with the current zoning regs for home-based business? Good with that, Rob?
All right. Yeah.
Probably follow that up with a, if no,
Just comment.
do you feel that they're too strict, too lenient? I mean, you ask the question, but you don't know which way they're leaning.
Yeah, and we need to know which way they're leaning in order to write what the vision is
Right.
for the future.
Okay, put that in
You can probably cut 23, even though it's a really nice question, because I think 21 B, you'll get that information of what they consider the best part about living here.
Yep.
And it also says and owning property. And so if you're looking, if the survey is for people that rent, you would want to cut that anyway. I don't know that it is. I don't know what was decided, but I think I would write the same thing for 23 that I selected for B. You see what I mean?
When you fill out the survey.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
if I'm filling out the survey, and
Right.
that's how I'm looking at this whole thing.
But,
is-
but B isn't, B is the 10 things we thought of.
Sure, but there's room for other, unless you want to cut other and put it as 23. Because I do think people, if you send something out that's this thick,
Yep.
I'm in the business of getting people to fill out stuff they don't want to do, and so I think being concise and respectful of time, and giving people who are verbose and have time, space for it, but making it not intimidating and overwhelming people that don't have time.
I agree with you, I think 21 covers 23.
Okay.
That's very tough. So 22, what changes or improvements would make Brookfield a better place to live? I think that helps with the future in the master plan and determining where we're going to go. If we have a bunch of people that are suggesting all the same thing, then we know where we can make some improvements.
Would we want a list like under 21 with another to give, it's just really hard to categorize 150 completely different responses. Somebody's gonna have to collate all this and try to come up with something that we can report on.
Right.
So I think there's a place for people to have free-form text, but it's also, I don't know what the 10 things should be, but just a general thought, not specific to that one question, I guess.
Well, if you tabulate this in your others, you're gonna have other, you're gonna have a list of all the comments, and you're just gonna be tabulating if repetitive nature of some of those comments, you know, whether or not they outweigh some of the others. You know, there may be, I mean, obviously we can't hit all of the desires, and there may be something out there that everybody sees that we
We're not
don't,
thinking of.
and we need to capture that somehow. I mean, surveys are a very labor-intensive form of getting feedback.
Yeah. And I guess this question probably overlaps with a bunch of others. Like, you could have a commercial zone or a light industrial zone as one of the things in the list.
Sure.
You know, maybe in place of, another question specific to that, or if we've got the question specific to that, then it's redundant. I don't know. I'm not sure that anyone's going to say, oh, yeah,
Yes.
we need a nuclear power plant. That would make Brookfield awesome.
Yes. I want my own Simpsons.
Yeah, I wonder what people under the age of 18 are going to be putting on there.
Are they allowed to answer that?
We're going to have a category for it. So
Yep.
it'd be interesting to know what my kids would put on there.
Well, Luke would put a couple of billion on the tax ledger.
I know, then we could afford anything you want.
Yeah.
All right, 24, what is the one thing you feel is most important to preserve about Brookfield?
I like that question.
High taxes.
Moving on to 25.
Twenty-five is a tough question, because it's,
You gotta provide the service.
Right.
Again, it's planning though, right? So if you send out 160 or 500 surveys, you get 100 back, and they all have the same service saying, this is what the town should be offering, then that should be something we include in our planning. I mean, you gotta listen to what the people want, right? It's not like a wish list for Joe down the street who wants something, and you know, but if you get the major percentage of the town is saying that we're lacking this service, then we need to seriously think about how we can put that in our future.
I agree with you, but the only problem with this in the survey is I would get to that and then I'd lose a lot of steam to continue, because I would probably be like really racking my brain because I'm trying to think of.
That's just you.
Give me an
This
example.
is first I've heard of it.
I didn't mean to break this commentary with me today.
Business service park confuses you.
Could be,
Yeah.
it could be restaurants. Somebody
Right.
could say,
What an open person.
That's right.
You get a
Exactly, yeah.
business, you know?
Right, or if it's something that's contracted or, you know, it's a pretty broad.
it is, but I mean, what happens if somebody says, I don't like driving X number of miles to go out and get something to eat? Be nice if Brookfield had a little restaurant, or, you know, my in-laws have to stay in Dover when they come to visit. Why can't we have a bed and breakfast here? I mean, you just don't know, right? Rich, you're thinking?
Later, I just look for the end.
Uh-oh.
So give me an example of a business service. Do you mean like the internet, telephone, banking? I mean, what does that mean? I mean, if we put some.
It should say business or service,
Or service, right?
right?
So I find it confusing because it's the town asking the survey, and I understand that we may want to ask about what commercial things people might want in town, but we may want to have a, you know, also a question about municipal services, you know, and maybe more specifically in town, right? I just noticed that on the previous survey, there was a similar kind of question, and somebody mentioned our own post office. You know, I'm not sure how important that is to people, but, you know, I mean, post office or, you know, transfer station, somebody could say, hey, we should have that, you know, in Brookfield as opposed to contracted. And so other people said that we should have our own school. You know, senior living facility.
And around zip code, let's save the task of explaining the difference between Brookfield and Sandbound.
Because.
It's not a show.
Every time. So do we want to word that differently to make it a little more clear? So that people that can don't lose speed, you know, steam
Well, essay questions like that are risky.
Yes.
You just slow things up.
do we want to strike it?
Yeah.
I would,
It's
I would lean toward trying to clarify it.
asking to change the zoning again. It's asking a question that's.
Most people, as soon as you say the word zoning, they glaze over, right?
Yeah.
You know, so if,
Well, to me, that alludes to, it's asking a question to get input on something that's not allowed here anyway.
well, it might be something that's allowed. We don't have any B and B. Somebody mentioned B and Bs.
Someone may hit it.
They're
Someone may
allowed.
hit it.
You know?
Someone may hit it, but I'm predicting you're gonna get loaded up on answers like you said, you know, gas station, Starbucks, post office, and any of the above.
But would that give you a good feel for what the people in town want? I mean, I got this from looking at some different charts from other master plans that other towns did. And a lot of them do bar charts. And they ask a very open question like this, and then they actually graph, you know, like Starbucks had 80% of the people in the population wanted Starbucks, or 20% wanted a library, 10% wanted a B&B. It just gives you a feel for where people are going, what they have for a desire for the town. So
Well, if you like it, leave it in.
I'm asking for feedback.
I kind of see it as more of a discussion prompt than a survey question. I think that's where I'm coming from with that. If we had a forum, this would be a great discussion question.
be a follow-up to the questions about the services that are provided? Because I think once this thing gets reorganized into the categories, like once you have a category about services, it's gonna be much more natural. People, that will plant this, that will set the tone of, oh, we're talking about these kinds of things. Because the way that this is organized right now, it just pops up and you're kind of like, well, what do you mean businesses?
Yeah.
But when it's organized, when it's front-loaded with what, do you hear me quiet?
No, I said I was
Okay.
shifting gears. So
Okay.
You have to shift gears in order to figure it out.
Yeah, like if you have it in the category of, I can't remember the list that you listed, but the seed is, the person is focused
Right.
so that they don't get lost and they interpret the same words the way that you mean them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's why if we get the survey and set it up by.
Organize it, yeah.
Organize it per section, that's why I said at the beginning, we should decide what sections are we going
Yes.
to do, how are these sections? Because if we have them do all the survey and then we decide to have, the different sections, so they'll know what section they're in.
I think, just within this room, the interpretation of business services was totally different.
Yep.
And so I think if you want it to be useful to you, you're gonna wanna organize it before it gets sent out. And if you do all this before the school year starts, I can try to even help you.
Yeah, because that question would be in that section I just read about.
Yeah.
Economic development section or community facilities.
Right.
That way we can more easily incorporate our answers to what section we're in.
Right. And you can also see where you have redundancy. So if it's already being answered by other things, you can more easily cut it, because right now it's spread out over all of these pages, and we might be forgetting that there was a question back there that's just like that.
So I got the comments written on this one, and I do agree that we need to include it in with where those questions are asked to try to keep it so you don't have to shift gears or lose steam. And maybe clarify it a little better too, because we did get multiple definitions of what we were trying to get out of it. So move on to 26. Previous master plan updates for Brookfield have included the objective to preserve Brookfield's rural and historic character. Do you think this should continue to be the goal of our community?
So I wonder if this should be the lead-off. Maybe not say previous master plan updates, but say the current master plan objective, one of the objectives is preserve Brookfield's rural and historic character. I mean, this, to me, when I read this kind of sets the tone for the whole survey.
Yep.
I think we're all here for basically the same reason right there, right? So we ease into the survey.
Yeah.
I like that, Tim.
Yeah, I do too. I think I would lean toward not mentioning that this is what the current master plan says.
Sure.
Yeah, it creates incumbent bias. I mean, just make the statement, and do people agree with it or not? And rather than having to say, this is what we currently have, it doesn't add anything to say we currently have it. It's gonna.
That sounds like a steering question.
Yeah. I think you just ask the question.
Did you say incumbent bias?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. I
I think
apologize.
I heard it.
It does. That fits.
So the
I
second
didn't just
section,
make that up. It's a thing.
You never make any.
if yes, which of the following approaches do you support to implement this goal? And then there's a list of different approaches.
I like those kind of questions.
The options.
It's concise and it's easy for people to just hit a checkbox.
Yep.
And you get a detailed discrimination between the various options. I like it.
Makes it easier to categorize things after you get it back to you.
So maybe today isn't the time to dig into the details, but We don't have, the second one about site plan regulations, it's really not, well, currently, it's not particularly relevant because we don't have site plan for anything that's outside of, our normal development is not done through site plan review. Although, maybe the number 2 is suggesting we should have it.
Right. So if you get a bunch of people that say we should do that, then.
Yeah.
So the first, number 27, we all worked on that one earlier. I don't think we need to talk about that one anymore. I did add a note, because we have if yes, what should be done, I have if no. Do you feel it goes too strict or lenient? So we'll add that to that for your suggestion. So you can see my numbering went off on this. Again, I was working on moving things around and shifting things around, and I give up, I gotta get this printed.
So I believe our zoning was adopted March 14th, 1961.
Thank you, that's why I left it blank.
I didn't just know that, I had to go look
You
it up.
really just knew that. Don't write it.
You know what time?
That would have been on the ballot, so 7 o'clock in the evening, 6:30 in the evening? So on number 28, the last sentence in the first paragraph, I think, is a little, we don't have the only non-residential, well, okay, so we have the rec zone, which site plan review is relevant to. And then the only non-residential use that we have is agricultural, and that does not require site plan review.
Right.
So, because even home occupations don't require site plan review because they are accessory to residential use.
That was primarily for Moose Mountain rec area. To get a feel for if the people still want to continue that route.
I think most people want independence, but
All right. So you want to strike that last sentence, because it doesn't really apply to the majority of the town? Just confuses the matter.
yeah, it confused me even, because I understand the details. I think if, a normal person reads that, they're probably not going to understand what site plan review is anyway.
Yeah.
And they're not going to know what non-residential uses are.
I'll strike that out. Any questions on 28?
We strike non-residential and site plan review.
Yeah, the last sentence, non-residential use are reviewed on lot-by-lot basis via the site plan review regulation.
I'm just trying to think about what the answers mean. Like, increase the current performance restrictions would be, you need more square feet contiguous buildable area to be able to build? Is that what you mean? Is that what that means?
Yeah.
I think you should say that,
Yeah.
right, something, some words with that.
Current performance restrictions is, I think, a tough, even though you explained what performance zoning is, I think it's still going to be hard for people to understand what it really means.
So increase the current zoning for continuous square footage for buildable lot. That makes more sense to you?
Well, that's one example, right? There's also
Yeah, good example.
road frontage and setbacks and, I don't know, minimum acres and. I don't know how to word it. I understand,
Yeah.
it's a really good thing if we can get to it, figure out what people think about it, but, and I think we've tried stuff like that in the past. If I recall, there was some push for some of the outlying, I don't know if it was just the northern part of the town or outlying parts of town to go to 5-acre minimum lot size at some point.
That was before me, but I think that's the kind of question you want to ask. Because what's happening today in town is we're getting a lot of development on the main roads because you can't afford a subdivision. So you're getting 2-acre lots, and the houses are very modest. If that's what we want, that's okay, but you don't see very many large houses going up in town. And the implications are that the larger house pays more taxes. So where do we want the town to go? That's the question you're asking.
Yeah. Before I lived here, I lived in San Diego area, and there were some area, like there's a town called Vista, which is sort of rural. But you know Vista?
I know this.
Okay, so it's sort of rural, but it's got a lot of development, a lot of small lots, a lot of crappy little houses, and property values are pretty low. And, gosh, I don't know, 10 miles away, maybe less, is Rancho Santa Fe, which is a 5-acre minimum lot size, and it's by far the highest property values in all of San Diego County, and, still some really crappy little homes in some, but I don't know how they pay their taxes, but, people that are worried about long-term property values would be better off with larger lot sizes, I think. And it makes a nicer community to live in. It's a hard case to make when somebody can't afford their taxes.
But that's the type of question you want to ask. What does the town want? I can see the direction we're going. We can continue to go that way. That's what our zoning supports.
We'll go back to 28. I think that the definitions below can be worked on to make it a little more concise so people know what they're answering. So I'll try to put that in a little bit more understandable language.
Oh, just to finish the thought on San Diego, most of the rest of it is really small lots. We lived on 1/6 of an acre, and it was horrible. I don't think we want to live that way. But anyway, having no limits on lot sizes can be a really bad thing, or changes the character. Let's put it that way. Changes the character.
You go 10, right?
You can't do the rules of town, but that's the town. You do the rules of town, and it's small, so.
So the next question, I think is pretty clear. Which type of the following residential development would like to see more of in Brookfield? Some of this stuff we don't do, but some people might decide that's what they want to see happen.
May want to add affordable housing to that.
In condos, is condo in there?
2-family home duplexes. That's not a condo. Tiny homes isn't in
I
here.
was gonna say it. See what people think about that.
Yeah.
About 10 acres is okay.
Yurts. Didn't you guys turn down some guy wanted a yurt?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, no,
You guys are so mean.
No tents.
Next question, do we want to, any more questions on this one we can review, or want to move on to the next one?
Oh, accessory, we allow accessory dwelling units, detached accessory dwelling units?
I'll add that as well. So under affordable housing, I have tiny houses as
Yeah,
well.
those are different things. Affordable housing is heavily regulated. It's the affordable housing with a capital A and capital H is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Not just low cost, not houses that people can afford. Got co-opted by the legislature. Talking with you.
Separate lines,
Yeah.
okay. What pattern of commercial development would you prefer to see in
Rick's gonna say
Brookfield?
that.
We don't have commercial development. Go ahead, Rick.
2-minute warning, I need a motion to continue or adjourn. Just saying.
Okay, or we can recess right at 9 and continue this at another date.
Point of order, that's actually not what our regulations say. I believe our regulations say that if we're gonna start a new topic after 9 o'clock, we need a vote.
Okay.
But anyway,
It was something like
I'm
that.
still ready to go home, so.
Just,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think we all are. And this is a working document, we can always come back to it, so we're just getting so close to finishing it, but.
You can cut
I
some
think
in
some
the
is-
30s,
yeah.
because they're the same questions.
Which
If
ones?
you want to feel like you got some stuff done.
What's this-
32 and 33,
Let's just keep plowing ahead.
you can cut, because they've already been asked.
Yep. Sure, if I'm gonna work on this document, I'd like to work on it once and not have to open it again and work on it again. So 27, again, my second 27, commercial development. We don't have commercial development, but I do have on here, maintain current zoning regulations for only home business. Or do people want to see strict commercial development along Route 109? I mean, there's, yeah, I don't know.
I like this question, except commercial development is so broad. You know, I could see this question asking about retail, for example, or restaurants, or light industrial, or, heavy industrial, right? And I think you get very different answers. Somebody might be fine with a coffee shop in a particular place, but not want a furniture manufacturing business there or something, I don't know. With trucks going in and out. So, anyway, I don't know how to fix it unless you make it 5 questions. But
Right. Well, people don't want anything, they can say no commercial development too.
Right, it's just that, I'm just not sure, what if somebody, you don't know what was in their mind, what commercial development meant at the time that they answered the questions. You don't really know if they're against coffee shops or if they're against nuclear power plants.
So we can go back to that. So which of the following natural resources should Brookfield work to protect? And then I just have a list, rank 1 through 5. Pretty simple.
All of the above.
Dark skies.
You have to rate them though, 1 through 5, in importance.
Okay.
I would have
I
dark
don't see
skies.
maple trees.
Dark skies, yeah. Light pollution.
Nobody gives a shit.
We do. We need that.
We do too.
Most important transportation concerns in Brookfield. So talking about Route 109, amount of overall traffic on 109, amount of truck traffic on 109, actual speed on 109.
Leave it open, I would just ask them to fill something in.
Yeah, I think a comment section would be appropriate for this.
There's no trains in Brookfield, right? There's no buses in Brookfield.
Right.
But that's all transportation needs. So you don't limit it to 109 and speed and keep it wide open.
What are the most important transportation concerns in Brookfield? Just cross out the, and just leave comment.
Yeah, I would.
All right. Good suggestion.
Can you say transportation and traffic concerns? Because if I heard transportation concerns, I wouldn't ever think of speed. I would think planes, trains, and automobiles. So if you want info on speed and things like that, you might just want to say and traffic, transportation and traffic.
That works.
Yep. And, and then there's general transportation concerns below. Lack of sidewalks, lack of public transportation, pedestrian, bicycle safety, dangerous intersections. I do know there's one dangerous intersection that I've been nearly clipped at right down here numerous times.
Yes.
Yes.
Something needs to be done about that. So I think, I've heard other people in town too that have almost been wrecked there, so.
Where's this?
Junction of Governor's Road and 109, that sharp corner. Pulling into Governor's Road with that corner there, you can't see anything. There's no mirror to see if there's a car coming. Almost took a motorcycle out 2 days ago.
I didn't mean to talk to you about that.
And then, a very open question, in your opinion, what would you prefer Brookfield to be like in 10 years? And that's where we put other comments on here as well.
This is the survey.
Very good.
Ed?
Under old business for B, it says review of cell tower and wind energy regulations. Do we want to put that somewhere in the survey?
Yeah, I didn't say that when I started this. I did miss the renewable energy part of it. So when I edit this, I'm going to add more about the renewable energy. Like, does the town of Brookfield want to promote cellular tower and radio tower, wind energy, solar farms? And then there's also going to be residential solar and residential wind. Because you don't want to just say, do you want to promote and support wind energy? Because some people are thinking these gigantic things and, you know, with blades the size of airplanes.
Yeah, and eagles.
Or someone's backyard has a small wind turbine. And you'll get a mix of feelings when people really don't mind the small wind turbines in someone's backyard.
Big
So-
blades, that's all going obsolete now.
Yeah, they are.
GE's divesting out of it.
Well, thank you for going over that and your comments. I'll make the updates on this and then send it out electronically after I make the edits.
Do you want to send it to me before September 5th? I can edit it. Then you won't hear from me.
All right, we have any public comments?
Well, like, did you meet before the next scheduled meeting on this, or are you gonna wait a month? Plan.
I'm gonna edit it and then I'll send out an edited copy, so everybody has a copy. And then the next meeting, we'll review it. Do you feel strongly that we should have another meeting?
You make good progress, I mean, keep it going.
Right. And we don't have, as far as I know, we don't have other things that are pressing. We can, my thought is we can really hammer on this master plan and try to get it done.
Most progress in 9 years tonight.
So, I believe the reason we made progress is because somebody did something outside the meeting. It's so much easier to edit and comment on something than to draft it in a meeting. So, thank you for doing that.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Desperately needed.
Good point, Rob.
So, everyone should bring their own questions, additional questions next time, fill in the gaps. Or email them to David maybe before the meeting so they can be in the document.
Yeah, definitely, I can update it too.
I know you got time for this, Rob. Okay.
So much time.
I just wanted to, again, I didn't make
Dude,
this
you're
up.
retired. What are you complaining about?
Every time. Don't be adjusted.
I did not make this up, this is what it says here. It says, master plan preparations 674:3. During the preparation of various sections of the master plan, the board shall inform the general public, the Office of Energy and Planning, and regional planning commissions, and solicit public comments, which this could be it, regarding the future growth of the municipality in order to involve citizens in the preparation of the master plan in a way which is most appropriate for the municipality. How, other than this survey, what else are we doing to make sure we don't, now I can give you an example. Some in town may say that this is not enough. Some will say it is. So I think as a planning board, we should decide how are we gonna have more public hearings? I had thought that we could start this as a public hearing, meaning notice the public using the proper procedure that we're working on the master plan. And then don't adjourn or recess that hearing. So we could cover the base that we are opening public participation, so people know they can come in here and discuss this. That way we're covered, involving everybody, and if they don't show, they don't show.
Right.
If we don't do that, I think people are going to feel like they're shut out of the process. This is good, I'm just asking, should we do more than this?
I think with the survey, there should be a letter that goes out to explain to people that obviously we're trying to develop the vision of the master plan using the survey. Like Ken and Sarah had said, we need to let them know why we're doing this. And then also invite them every third Thursday of the month at 6:30, that they're welcome to come and partake in the development of the master plan. I mean, I think Sarah's feedback was definitely appreciated, and I would like to see more involvement with other people as well, so, thank you, Sarah.
No problem.
I completely agree. Have the word out that this is going on, that's going on here at this meeting. Show up and get involved.
Yeah.
It's, in due respect to the master plan, town of 700 people, this is not a huge deal.
Right.
It's not a huge project that involves big meetings and parades and fireworks. Just come here, we're gonna get it done.
And finally, I just add that this is an update for a master plan. We're not rewriting the master plan.
Why is that
Unless we
important?
choose.
Why is that important? What's the distinction in the RSAs?
One's complicated, in the RSAs.
None.
I don't know if it says anything.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand the distinction you're
The
making.
update process could cause a total rewrite, who knows? But we're coming up with a master plan, whether it's rewritten or new from the ground up, it's irrelevant.
But we're updating the master plan. I think we should make that clear that we're updating our existing plan, not rewriting it, that's all I'm saying.
I just don't understand what the difference is. We've got something that was passed a number of years ago that's in effect, and at some point we're going to have a new thing that's in effect. What does it matter if we started with an empty file or whether we started with the file that was the last one?
Because we're trying to understand if the general feel of the town has changed, right? And I think by saying you're updating it, is you're also comparing what we have that exists to what the town desires now.
Not trying to change it.
Yeah.
Scare people.
I'm bringing it up because I feel that this is something someone else also might bring up. I understand what you're saying. I'm saying that's what somebody else might say. Is this our first, is it, what does it mean? I think we need to explain to the public, what does this update mean? Does it mean we're rewriting it, reformulating it, re-engineering the whole thing, or are we just updating what we already have?
So you said we don't want to scare people. I think that if nobody's scared, well, nobody will come and help us. If they're nervous about what we're doing, then they're more likely to show up and participate. Because if they're not afraid, they trust us.
You get a bunch of upset, irate people in here, and it's not gonna be very pretty.
The lynch mob comes in.
Yeah, I mean,
That'd be
people
awesome.
in here,
All right.
because they like what you have.
The time's ticking here, and Rich is falling asleep, so why don't we think about coming up with some sort of introduction to this, so that we all agree on that? But we've already done public comments, member comments. Any member comments? No? Meeting adjourned, George? Thank you all very much for your feedback tonight. I think we've made some really good
Big
progress.
risk of a pause that long.
Yeah, I know, I haven't followed your footsteps very well, have I? for comments, adjourned.
No, thank you.
Thank
This is
you.
awesome.
Aye.
Thank you.
Good job, David.
Yeah.
Aye.
Good night, Tim.